everyone for coming in today and sharing your Sunday with us for this artist talk. I want to welcome everyone here to the Firehouse Art Center. My name is Elaine Waterman and I am the Executive Director. The Firehouse is a nonprofit art center in the heart of downtown Longmont on 4th and Coffin, providing life-enhancing art experiences through art exhibitions, education, and community events. Our artist talks are casual talks and chats with artists, curators, members of the creative community, and creative entrepreneurs with a focus on how to build community within the arts. Firehouse Artist Talks give the community a chance to ask questions and get deeper to a deeper level with the art on our walls. We are taping this talk, and you can find it on our YouTube channel along with our past artist talks and presentations. I just wanted to start with a couple of updates for the Firehouse Art Center. So live drawing, which is usually held tomorrow on Monday, is canceled because of the Memorial Day weekend. But we do have that class every Monday of the month. We also have weekly art classes and monthly meetings for songwriters, filmmakers, writers, artists, and more. Please check out the mini sandwich board on your way out for more info or visit our calendar on the website. A shout out to our sponsors, the LDDA, Longmont Creative District, Scientific and Cultural Facilities District, Longmont Community Foundation, the Community Foundation of Boulder, Boulder County Arts Alliance, and Colorado Creative Industries. We couldn't connect our community to creative and life-changing art experiences without your help. If you would like to donate to support our programming and exhibits, please visit our website or donate at the front desk. And lastly, in the spirit of healing, the Firehouse acknowledges and honors the Arapaho tribe, the original people of the land upon which the Firehouse sits. We also wish to acknowledge all other indigenous tribes and nations who call Colorado home. It is because of their hardships and sacrifices that we are able to be here sharing this art with you today. And the Firehouse believes we can only grow when we have a better appreciation for the history, legacy, and contributions that the tribes have made, not just to this region, but to the nation. I'm so excited to be here today with artist Irene Delka McCray, and I just wanted to give you a little background before we start. A Boulder, Colorado native, Irene earned her BFA from Colorado State University and her MFA degree from Vermont College of Fine Arts. She taught for 7 years at Santa Fe Community College and 3 years at Santa Fe International Academy of Art. During her time in New Mexico, she studied in earnest archetypal dream work with Anne Yeomans, whose treatment of psychic imagery continues to impact her paintings and drawings that arrive out of the soul realm of human experience. McCray, now retired, taught at Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design for 23 years. Her paintings and drawings of the figure and cloth have been exhibited widely, primarily in Colorado, New Mexico, and California. Her work is in the Denver Art Museum's permanent collection and the Kirkland Museum of Fine and Decorative Art in Denver. Other exhibition venues include the Armada Center for the Arts and Humanities, the Center of Visual Arts, Boulder Center for the Visual Arts, Pacific Grove Arts Center, the Oakland Center for the Arts, Kansas City Art Coalition, and the Museum of New Mexico. She is a former member of Pirate, a contemporary art oasis in Colorado, and was represented by Sandra Phillips Gallery in Colorado. Thank you so much for being with us today, and thank you for sharing your work with our community.
Thank you, Elaine, and thank you, Firehouse people, for having my work here. So I'm going to read this because if I don't, I'll just forget, or else I'll just ramble on and won't understand anything. So a sudden insight that changed my life came from my sister's question: how could he have left her alone? It was at the death of my father, who was suffering horrible pain, couldn't go on, and took his own life. Mom was already in the grips of Alzheimer's, confused, and pretty much incapable of running her own life. He had been doing the thinking for them, while she was doing the physical things. per his instructions. Within the chaos after his sudden death, I came to an eventual recognition. He did not leave her alone. He left her with me. Without realizing what he was thinking of doing to himself, by helping them to getting her out of predicaments, doing their grocery shopping, walking their dog daily, just doing what needed to be done, I had shown him that I would take care of her. And that realization that, oh, it's all up to me now, changed me, changed my priorities, and over the next 10 years taught me so much. It surprised my family, who all saw me as sort of an odd being, an artist, radical in my beliefs and actions, to them anyway, since they all had correct lives, that I took on the job of caring for my mom so completely. My sister died that same year, and my brother, it turned out, was very ill too. And since most of my adult life, outside of raising children, had been spent with other artists and student artists, I was actually pretty surprised too at myself about the practical matters I managed for her. Cleaning, cooking, doctor appointments, record keeping, the finances, everything to keep her life going. My mom had been practical. I've never been practical. I had depended on her for those issues. She had once only come to me for things like picking out colors for clothes and home decor, solving ridiculous arguments between her and my sister. But then it all turned around, a reversal of trust. It was all very gradual, her thinking going haywire. Oh, the stories. One day I was called at work by the police. Her basement had flooded in the 2013 flood that left Longmont an island. She couldn't remember what had happened in the torrential rain and thought the water was from a break in the plumbing. So she called a plumber in Fort Collins. He drove all this way just to explain to her that it was not a plumbing problem. She forgot what he said and again saw the water, so called the city to have the water shut off to the house. They shut it off. Then she went to get a drink of water and there was no water. So she, of course, called the police. They called me. I realized I had to get more help and not leave her alone at all. I had to hire caregivers who were angels, since I was still teaching and couldn't be there all the time. The thing is, as an artist, I was already trained for the situation with my mom. Her short-term memory was slipping away and eventually gone entirely. She lived in the past and her imagination. And well, where is it that I live? Imagination is a realm of expertise for me. I could easily go there with her. And you see, as we age or move into dementia, our imaginations get better, and we live above the world of the material. I became the only person she knew and the only person she trusted, this artist daughter of hers. I was her everything. Joyce, how do you feel? You'll have to ask my daughter. Joyce, what would you like to eat? Please ask my daughter. I watched over her innocence and wonderment about the world. Elemental things in life were her concerns. Children, plants, animals, nature, colors, finally colors other than beige. I took over the practical for her and marveled at her imaginings. She made up very interesting truths to tell. She'd say the trees were all dead from a big fire that went through the neighborhood. No use informing her that it was winter and leaves had fallen. She was there in the after-fire catastrophe, and I went there with her. I pretended to see the dogs trapped in cars needing help and pretended to go help them, on and on. Then at the very end of her journey, I started to paint her from the photos I'd taken through the windows during lockdown at assisted living and memory care. I visited her almost every day, rain, shine, snow, wind. She counted on it. She couldn't remember about COVID and would try to open the window for me to get inside. I'd tell her, don't do that. There's a dangerous virus out here. And she'd say, when I get my hands on that virus, I'm going to wring its neck. I don't think this work helped me from getting over missing her. But painting her definitely deepened my love for her amazing force of character. It was the most difficult thing I've ever had to do, to take care of her, but also the most meaningful. I care about this work because I care about what my mom and so many others who went through and are going through with dementia or other health issues. And I care about the caregivers who follow them through it all. And I care about those of us who may be afflicted in the future. I also do not want to pretend that we don't get old, get wrinkles, and become strange. I did this work to encourage others to get to know their elders at the end of life. I do know, of course, that some dementia people become combative and that it's sadder than sad and maybe has to be left to professional caregivers for safety reasons. But for the most part, the elderly should not be shied away from out of fear of illness and death or considered beneath anyone. It's a life-altering experience to know loved ones in their departing time and a gift of dignity to give our care.
So when we talked about kind of the structure of this talk, Irene wanted it to be a little bit more community-based. And there are definitely a lot of reasons why individuals would come into this space and view this work. So if you have any thoughts of what brought you here, any memories to share, any personal stories, we invite you to do so. And do you want to?
Maybe just everybody say who they are and why they're here.
Yeah, great.
They're, just briefly, and then if you have more to say after, then we can get back to you. Tree, you can start.
Okay. I'm here because I love Irene, and I've known her for over 40 years. We have grown old together. And this work is important to me too, because it really, it shows some of the mystery and the wonder and the beauty of this transition.
And you knew my mother.
And she was funny. When we told her about COVID, she goes, "Give it to me." Oh gosh. Yeah. She was a dear lady.
Hi, I'm Fran, and I was here last week in this space and walked in here and just started crying, which I'm going to do now. I feel like I'm in your soul. Obviously, I didn't care for my mother. My mother died of cancer. She was only 76 at the time that she died. But the last time I spent with her, that last week, it was as if I was in her body. And when I see these, it's not a sadness, it's just overwhelming. It was a joy that I had to have shared that part of her life. And I appreciate your work, so thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm Barry, and I'm Fran's husband. Fran didn't mention that she's an artist, but I'll mention it. And I saw a postcard that you sent out of your work, and I was so impressed. I said, I gotta meet this woman, I gotta see more of her pictures. And that's why I'm here. Thank you.
I'm Lucas from Nebraska. I'm a former student of Irene's from REMCAD, which is a humongous impact on the things that I make and create, and any chance I get when I'm in Denver or Boulder, wherever, I make a point to stop and see her work. And I haven't seen her since I graduated, which was 12 years ago. So I wanted to make a point to come here on this nice weekend and hear about her works. A very strong connection with my grandparents, and that sort of informs my identity. So these works resonate with me pretty deeply. But on top of that, I just really appreciate Irene's attention to detail, her technical skill, and just happy to be here.
I'm Chad. I accompanied Lucas today. I'm founder of a couple contemporary art spaces in rural Nebraska and supporter of Lucas's work. Really just honored to be here and see your work. And I kind of accompanied my mother the same during the pandemic, and sort of got to be that person who got to go inside. And was just looking today at photos, and one of the last photos I took was sort of my hand grabbing hold of her hand, because she was nonverbal at that point. I don't think she had any understanding of what was happening, and I think people who went through that, and I think anyone who really goes through kind of that time of seeing your parents go, where there's no roadmap for that, it's such intensely beautiful time that changes you. So it's great to see art evoke that. Thank you.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm on the board here at Firehouse, so I'm also on the exhibitions committee, so I got to have a say in this show being here right now, so of course I had to come see what you had to say about it. I just recently witnessed my mom losing her mother, so similar way, so of course also wanted to hear what these pieces were about more in depth. And my all-time favorite thing to do as a kid was poke my grandma's veins on her hands and just like play with them and put them around. That was like my favorite pastime with us. So like seeing all these pieces that came back, that flooded back to me. So awesome.
I'm Robin, and I'm here. I just really like coming to the artist talks. I always learn something, and it's really nice to hear any artists talk about their work, but especially yours. I did remember seeing your work at the Arvada Center not that long ago, and it was so beautiful, and so I was really excited when I saw your name and that you were going to be here, and was excited to hear what you had to say about it.
I'm Joan, and I'm here because my dear friend invited me, but I often think that there's grander reasons sometimes, and I think I'm here for a lot of other reasons as well. I taught art for 20-some years to high schoolers, and I'm in transition, and I've become a grandmother, and these pictures are reminding me of the last shower I took with my mother before she died, so there's just, it's a big picture here for me, and I'm just sitting in it. So.
I'm Bronwyn, and this is my third time coming to this exhibit. Blown away. Love the depth and the openness that it creates. Just standing here and being it was blown away. I've brought people back. I have an appointment to bring somebody back next Friday too. So love what you're doing. Love how you're seeing it and the depth with which you are exploring this. It's so needed. I'm caring for my father 2,000 miles away in California, every aspect of his life. The caregivers are amazing. And he's a funny, smart guy with dementia. And we have really interesting conversations. And it's hard. It's really hard. They are my eyes, the caregivers. And I'm so grateful. And that is not lost on me at all. Just, I could not be doing it without them. Right? And I love what you saw and how deeply you saw and how tiny you saw and how you marry the natural world with our aging, and we are part of the natural world, and it's just thank you. I love it. I love what you saw. I love what you're doing.
I'm Zuri, and I was here to volunteer, but I also kind of thought coming to this would be interesting because And I was like already blown away by the artwork itself, like seeing it for the first time. And my own grandmother has dementia, so I think it's cool. I don't know, to see that represented in some way in art, especially, which I love to do already. So, yeah.
I'm Albert, and my father had Parkinson's plus dementia, and my father-in-law had dementia. So my sisters took care of my father for the most part, but my father-in-law lived with us for about 10 years, so I saw a lot of it. I know what you're talking about. He'd go wandering, and we'd get a phone call, and we'd have to go find him. There were other little incidents. I find the art very illuminating. There's a real light coming from it. It's also, I haven't had a chance to really look around. This is my first impression. But I see these things that are suggestive of veins and other things. I don't know if they're the veins of leaves or of humans, but it's interesting to see that put on top of the wrinkles. You know, they kind of marry each other. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Those are supposed to be leaf veins.
And I was, and Albert was talking about my dad, and he had Alzheimer's, and he moved in with us and spent 11 years with us, and then went to a memory facility in Louisville called Wellspring. Had to endure the Marshall Fire. He didn't, but anyway, that was where he was, over there in Louisville. And I'm an only child, and so I was primarily relative that visited. It was difficult, but it was really wonderful having him at home, and my dad and I sort of squabbled. He was quite practical, and I was always wanting to be an artist, and so we had things to bump heads about, but this was a time to, I'm so glad I had this time with him to sort of, instead of be opposed and be corrected, instead to become friends. And I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but I was just kind of curious, who ever did art with your mother? Did you ever find that as a shared activity you could do with one another?
Absolutely not. She hated art. But she would like art if it was pretty flowers or something, and she recognized that I was doing something very different than that I wasn't just trying to put into the world something that everybody would agree with, but something other that would, well, she always said to me, "You're just trying to provoke, aren't you?" And that was a criticism.
Well, and I know sometimes what you mean about things sometimes being combative, you know, when you're working with a family member with dementia. But there were children around. My kids were there, and so maybe it was to humor me, but Dad and I, and the kids, so 3 generations would sit around the kitchen table doing some craft. And it was a way to connect, and it was nice, you know. And later on, when he was even more ill at the facility, music was the connector. And I just wanted to share that, and also just that I am a figure painter, but I wish I could take, you could be my teacher. I would love to learn how you are so realistic, and yet it's easy. There's no stiffness in your work. I don't see it. It seems you're very
It's way easier to grow the wrinkles than to paint them.
So I'm sure you heard of my friend who's a great painter, Kat Riley.
I came here blues invited me, and I know the anybody in my family that went through this, so it's new to me, but I look forward to looking at them close up. Let's see what's in them. Hi, my name is Donna, and I'm here to learn as much as I can about your technique, your style, your creative process, perhaps. I know now kind of the background, but I'd like to learn as much as I can. I'm not an artist, but I appreciate those who are and would like to know as much as I can about how you produce these beautiful works. Too. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Adriana. I'm a former student of Irene's at RedCAD. I graduated in 2014, and she was by far one of my favorite instructors there, one of my favorite people. And I'm going through a difficult time with my own mother right now, so this means a lot.
I'm Jesse. I'm here with Adriana. I'm pretty close to my mom, so thinking about this stuff is kind of giving me a little bit of anxiety. she's not to this point yet, but yeah, the work is also strangely comforting in a way, I think. So that's nice.
I'm Nancy, and I first saw your work in the Dairy Arts Center in Boulder. I walked in to the lobby and looked straight through, and there was the nude painting of your mother in full. And it was so shocking, and so I had to go right in and see what it was about. And you know, it's the first time that I've seen this kind of reality in many ways that of an aging body, a woman's aging body, and in such, I don't know, just straightforward way. It was shocking, and I love it. And I think it's opening a new way, I think, for us to see art and use art and appreciate our bodies. And also the idea of aging is becoming more familiar to me. My mother died in 2018 before the lockdown. She had all of her faculties except her body that just, was in pretty bad shape. But I got to be with her during that time. And I have some pictures of her that are similar to this, not nudes.
I didn't take photos of my mom nude.
Uh-huh.
No, I didn't want to get arrested. I just made that part up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you did a very good job of it. So thank you.
I'm Rose, and I came with Nancy and a friend on Saturday, and was just amazed. Was it Saturday or Friday? Mm-hmm. I was just amazed at how unique and detailed and touching these all are. And when we heard you were going to talk, we wanted to be here. It's like, who is this person who did all this wonderful work? It's so passionate. So thank you.
So I did want to follow up with some of the comments. Obviously, the subject matter is very personal and sensitive, but there were some questions on technique, and I kind of did have some follow-up questions for that. So you said that you didn't work from photos, and these are obviously very deeply realistic.
No, I worked from photos.
But not like an actual
No.
Yeah.
I am incapable of following a photo. I cannot just copy a photo. I don't know. It's just I end up making up stuff, like I put a different hairstyle on her, or and she wasn't sitting in the window naked. I made up the belly and the legs and wherever there was clothing, I decided that I didn't want clothing. Most of my career I've been painting the nude, and so it's kind of natural for me to think about somebody as being nude, because I guess I don't want to stick them in a time and place, and I don't want to stick them in a style or something like that. And for me, going to art museums, I always go look for the old stuff and the nudes. my friend Anya goes with me, and she goes and looks at the new stuff, and I go look at the old stuff, and it's just not that I don't appreciate abstract work. I appreciate it a lot, but something in me wants to paint the realism, and I think that what that is that concentration brings me to a focus that is very helpful to me. It's like it takes me to the soul realm, where that continuing always to develop continuing to develop on the technique that some of you have said something about, to continue to learn, to get better at a craft, to get better at it all the time. That focus is important to me, so that utilizing a reference really helps with that. And then when I have to make up parts of it, that is actually a struggle, because I'm not sure that it would really look like that. But then at some point I go, oh, nobody knows.
And then somebody mentioned like the luminous quality and like the colors. So I feel like it kind of ties in with what you were saying, that, focusing on the elderly, like everyone gets old, and I feel like some of the art that does focus on elders is usually stark or uses more like contrast and black and white, just addressing that, but you use so much color, and it's soft color. How did you make that choice, or was there kind of a choice about that?
Well, the development of painting flesh over the years, when I was in undergraduate school and studying painting the figure, I had this idea that, and I don't know if the teacher told me this or where I came up with this, but I thought I had to have three colors mixed up and use those three colors for the entire body. And I think about that now, and it's like, what? 3? So, of course, right away I realized that there were a lot more colors in the flesh. And I really enjoy getting all those colors in the flesh. To just, with a color pencil. Now, some of the work is in colored pencil. And I actually learned about color through color pencil. That overlay of colors, color on top of color on top of color on top of color on top of color, and then because I'm really a painter, then I burnish it and don't leave any white paper. And if there's white, it's been put there with a white pencil. And that, just that learning to put more and more colors, and even making some of them up, would be okay, because I really love color.
And I see, Tree, did you purposely, you dressed to match everything? I keep looking at you and then looking at the purples, and
it's an old lady thing.
Oh, I think that some people were asking me before about the colors, that they don't look like real colors. Like, what are real colors? That question so confused me. But then it's confused me so much I had to think about it afterwards. And I realized, somewhat I might see different colors than other people see. You see a lot of purple in my paintings. If I go into yellow, it really distresses me, and I go right back to purple. So I might just, because I I have some cataracts. Maybe I just see colors differently. Do you see more yellow now, tree?
Yep.
Than you used to?
Yep.
Maybe someday I'll see yellow.
Then you'll get cataract surgery and you'll see blue.
So in these works, there is that natural representation. So the roots and the leaves, was that, as far as the progression, did you do first the portraits and then moving into the portrayal of roots and leaves?
Yeah, the ones that have the leaves on top, like I erased out the color pencil with this one. This was the first one I did that in. It was for me a returning her to nature and the all. It isn't that she's gone. She can't be gone, but she's there in the natural world where she wanted to be. She was a very natural person. She never dressed up or did anything that called attention to herself. She would sit in the dirt.
What was her name?
Your
mother's name?
Oh, Joyce McCray.
Does she have a profession?
My mother was a telephone operator.
Oh.
And so the telephone was extremely important to her and annoying to the rest of us because she never hesitated to pick up a phone. Now, in Alzheimer's, she eventually forgot how to use a phone. The photo that you see over there behind the desk, she's in the assisted living over here at Ross Street Assisted Living here in Longmont. And I'm at the window, and my husband was taking a photo of us, and she's on her little princess phone because that's all she knew how to use in the end. She forgot how to push the buttons and everything. All she could do was pick up and say hello and talk into the phone.
Why was she there?
That's a number question.
Before COVID?
She was there during COVID.
During and before that?
Yes.
I wonder if I met her. I have a little poodle that I would walk in the neighborhood and often stop.
Oh, she loved sitting on the porch and watching the dogs.
Yes, and I would come and I would make sure he was all bathed, and I would bring him up, and I would visit with all of the people sitting on the porch, and there were always like 2 or 3 women
Yeah,
sitting on the porch.
she loved the dogs. She loved sitting on the porch watching the dogs.
Yeah.
Who wanted to know about technique? What do you want to know about technique?
How did you start? Did you have an image in mind and then progress, or
well,
how did you
for the most part, with these paintings, I did have an image that I started with, and Lucas was telling me about a drawing that he's doing so that he can take that drawing and make a painting. That's what I taught him to do, but I just start. I just start with the paint itself, and I just paint it like I try to get the entire canvas covered in a day. And with the values, now you don't see a lot of values in these, so it's mostly warm and cool. But just try to get the general image down and a whole idea of what is going to happen with it, and then I go back in with the details. And then I spend forever.
in oil or acrylic or
oil?
Oil. Are they all oil then, except for the colored pencils?
And how long is forever on one piece?
Well, it depends on the piece and how many problems I had with it. Like, for instance, the feet. At one point, I had very realistic tree bark colors, and that really bothered me. So I had to go back over it and make the tree purple. It was gray and brown. I didn't want any brown in it, so I made it purple. So sometimes I go over and over and over it, but and actually always I go over and over and over it. So probably this one that's on the card probably took me about 5 months. And that one I did after I was retired, so I did kind of keep track for how long it took me, but some of them I had already done or started before I retired. So I never really know how long it takes.
The day before you were to hang the show, I stopped by and she was painting another eyelash. It was a wet paint show.
So what is on your easel now? What are you painting?
Oh, and my easel in the studio is another painting of my mom's hands crossed like this. Just her hands, there's nothing but her hands. And on the drawing table is another drawing of my mom. Maybe I'll stop at some point. But I feel actually like it will continue to be about elders and aging. That's been a continual topic of mine over my entire career. So I painted the crone a lot when I was young. I loved painting the crone when I did really spiritual stuff, and now it's a real crone.
And I mean, I did a dive into your past work, and a lot of it was fabric. There was a series that was fabric, and it looked like wrinkles, and then I was like, oh.
Well, that was so I painted the figure, and then I was painting the figure and fabric, like body and cloth work. And then I got so interested in the cloth, I just did cloth for a while. And then I wanted the figure back, so I put indentations into the cloth of the body and painted that. So the body was gone, but the cloth was there with the indentation of the figure. So I paint a lot.
The hands are very prevalent and eloquent, and I wonder, did you position them or your mother?
Okay, so there I am at the window, and I say, put your hands to your face, because I didn't want, to have to paint the clothes. and some of them, like that one, she was just hanging her hands down like that. Actually, she was hanging her hands down like this on the side, but I put it here. And if her hands were a certain way, I'd just take a quick photo of them. But sometimes I'd say, put your hands up to your face, and so she goes. She was funny. And then I say, no, don't cover your face, but I took a picture of it anyway, and then she goes. And in most of these pieces, all but one, her eyes are closed. And that was especially toward the Alzheimer's that she was in, because she was inside. She was in her own world. She was not part of what was actually going on.
Did your mom get to see these pictures, any of them?
Yeah, I showed them to her, but it didn't connect to her. It didn't really, like...
But did she have any reaction? I'm just curious to
I said, I did this painting of you, what do you think? And she said, that's me.
Okay.
Because, see, she didn't know she was 92 years old. She thought she was 72. So it really, it was hard for her to recognize herself.
But she had a reaction.
Yeah, is that me? And then she'd look at me like, what's wrong with you?
or bodies or people before this? All through your...
You mean of elderly people?
Just people.
Oh yeah, my entire career been painting withered. Yes. And that's what I taught at RimCAD. Yeah.
Where did you say you were in Denver? Where?
Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design.
Your paintings are exhibited there?
Oh.
No, I mean where they're exhibited.
Where they? Oh, they were. The drawings were at the Arvada Center recently, and I've exhibited many places in Denver. I was represented by Sandra Phillips Gallery before she closed.
Wow.
I've been around.
Where is that huge nude that I saw at the beginning of the exhibit at the Dairy? Where is that now? It's not in here. Did someone buy it?
When did you see it?
I saw it at the Dairy Arts Center.
But when's that?
Maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 months ago.
Okay, where's that?
Well, it's here. Yeah.
It's here?
Yeah. Whatever you saw, it's
Oh,
here.
it's here.
You're imagining things.
I am. Just like you.
I just want to say that as I'm aging and I'm looking at this one painting of yours there, and I remember having this conversation with my mother about feeling 21 when she was like dying and I was in my early 50s, and she said, "What do you think I feel like?" And like I look at that painting you did and you captured that 21-year-old child and your mother, as well as like all of it. It's beautiful. I'm just going to say that, looking at that, it's quite incredible, because that's not always captured, those two elements of old age. So, yeah, that's amazing. Regardless of technique, it's the emotion or the look on her face.
And you had mentioned, how they saw you as odd, you were the artist and always imagining things, and then you had to take on this role that forced you into the practical and seemed rather transformative for you. Do you feel like you've held on to that transformation, or what was that?
That's my husband. No, absolutely not. No, I'm not a practical person. That was the hard part for me. I mean, just taking care of her and being with her was a joy, but in taking care of all the other stuff, lawyers, oh my God.
Yeah.
Paperwork. So much paperwork, and just having to, keep track of, take notes and keep track of things was really hard. But I did it.
I remember in school, I don't remember the exact joke that you would make, that you would always, not always, but talk about people with no color in their homes, and you kind of referenced that in that nice reading that you had. So when I see your work and like all the colors, that's just what I think first called me to you as an artist, because it's like you're seeing these deep colors that aren't completely obvious, first of all. And I think that's what makes a good artist, is seeing beyond the surface, seeing beyond these ordinary situations that we all kind of go through with, our loved ones getting older and dying, and putting it into a new context of exploring what that means on a personal level, universally related. So I just appreciate you call it imagination, I think it's more just the ability to see beyond the surface. So.
But that's very interesting that you say it's the ordinary thing, because it is ordinary, and I think that's what art is about, is taking the ordinary and making it special for the purpose of drawing our attention to it.
Yeah.
And you remember that about my mom. I told my students always that my mom had to have everything beige so that it would go with everything, but everything was beige, so it never had to go with anything. And
I remember that because my grandma has like everything colored, like it was the complete opposite, so that stuck with me. So I was glad to hear you say that. And then also I like when someone made a reference to the leaves and like the landscape, and you said something about going back to the land, and it was just making me think. As Chad and I were driving up here today, we were talking about the landscape we were seeing, and how time and weather sort of shapes it, and how that relates to the body here in your work. I think is great because you can look at these very fragile, soft, fleshy forms as being shaped by our environment and by time. And it's like, it's not just after we die that we're returned to the earth. Like, we're just in a constant transition of being returned back to where we came from. So you can see like the crests and the valleys, and with the fragility of the leaves relating to the weakness of the flesh getting older. It's really powerful. And I see them as more than just your basic figure paintings.
do you remember that I told you my dad was from Nebraska?
I actually don't remember that.
From the farm.
Do you have a favorite?
A favorite of these?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one with different stuff.
Is that because you remember when you told her to put and then that was like?
Well, I think that, and also just that the Alzheimer's thing of, I call that painting Not Here, and that's really that one. And I don't know why I painted it last. Like I just kept looking at that photo of her hands over her face, and finally thought, well, I better paint it. It was just like feeling like that says a lot about the disease. Here, but not here.
It's like a child saying, "You can't see me."
Yeah. And she didn't like her picture taken.
Cool. So we usually. Oh, sorry.
Priscilla here.
Priscilla
Can't see me. Yes.
Hi.
Hi. We've known each other since we were 12. And she saw my mom about 6. Well, everybody pretty much had turned 70 at our Boulder High School reunion. My mom walked. She never used a cane. She died at 101. And she walked down and she was talking to Irene. And the difference of my mom and your mom is incredible. With my mom dying because she got shingles. She didn't have wrinkles like this, but I remember seeing your mother when I was younger. I don't know where exactly. One of our events through Casey in Boulder High School. She's still beautiful in these like she was when I was a kid. And it's quite powerful for me. I've seen it on Facebook, but to see these in person, Irene, this is extraordinary.
Thank you. Sorry I didn't recognize you, but I don't have my glasses on.
Oh, good. I'm glad that you didn't think, oh, she even got greater.
Cool. So usually at this point, we'll kind of strike chairs and put them back in the South Gallery, and we'll do an artist walkthrough where guests can ask questions about specific pieces and meet with the artist and kind of really go deep as you guys want to go. Does anyone have any last questions that they wanted to address here?
I keep wondering because these are close up, and so there's and tightly cropped, and so they border on the abstract. And so the body somehow is crossing the line over. going into the light and dematerializing almost. Is that an intention or just I'm reading into it?
Part of that is that I wanted them to be really large. Usually I paint much larger than this, but what was it? It was COVID, I guess, and I didn't have access to building canvases or something, so I was ordering the canvases. So I had that size, and I wanted her big. I wanted her really big because of her impact on me.
And I do have to say, you know, being in the space and kind of talking with people that come in, there have been kind of two sides of reactions. Like obviously people will have the personal reaction, whether they've been caregivers or they're remembering, or you know, they think of a grandparent or a mother or a father or somebody that has passed on or is kind of struggling through this, or they're older and it's really challenging for them because it kind of reminds them as they're looking like, oh gosh, these are the, you know, yeah, you do. Like a lot of people, when I come up to them and I say, oh, what do you think of the work? They do this and they look at their own hands. And so it's been really interesting.
Yeah,
beautiful to have. And also to have them be so big and just kind of like a whole body of work. It's just beautiful. So thank you. So we will, I just ask you if you guys would just take your chair that you're sitting on and you can just put it in the South Gallery. You don't have to stack or anything. We're going to kind of clean off this space area and we'll shut off the film. So thank you so much for coming. And yes, Elaine.